The moment I satisfied through the Whitmore family's front door holding baby Rosie, Patricia Whitmore looked at me like I was a stain on her marble floor. Her smile was the kind people wear at funerals, technically present, emotionally absent. Her eyes did a slow scan from my Target clearance sweater to my scuffed flats to the baby drooling on my shoulder. I watched her calculate my entire net worth in 3 seconds flat. Then she said 5 words that made my blood turn to ice. So this is the girlfriend. Not welcome to our home. Not lovely to finally meet you. Just this. Like I was a disappointing appetizer at an overpriced restaurant. Like I was something her son had dragged in from the street. But here's the thing Patricia Whitmore didn't know. Here's what nobody at that dinner table knew. The broke single mom standing in her pristine foyer in yoga pants from 2015. She makes $17,500 a month. The woman Patricia had already dismissed as a gold digger, she was about to become a doctor. And this whole evening, every sneer, every whispered insult, every calculated cruelty Patricia was about to unleash was a test. A test Patricia was failing spectacularly. Let me back up. My name is Bethany Burton. I'm 32 years old, and for the past 8 months, I've been lying to the man I love. Not about the big things, not about my feelings or my loyalty, or the way my heart races when he walks into a room. I've been lying about something most people would consider a good thing. I've been hiding my success. See, I'm not actually a struggling single mother who works part-time doing paperwork at a dental office. That's just the character I've been playing. The truth? I'm a senior dental prosthetist at Preston and Moore Dental Lab, one of the most respected labs in the city. I'm the person who creates the crowns, veneers, bridges, and dentures that dentists put in their patients' mouths. The precision work, the artistry, the stuff that takes years to master and most people never even think about. When a dentist in this city needs something perfect, and I mean perfect, down to the micrometer, they request me by name. I've spent 8 years building that reputation. Doctors literally argue over whose cases I'll prioritize. I'm also 4 months away from finishing dental school, a part-time evening program I've been grinding through for 2.5 years while working full-time. Soon I'll be Dr. Bethany Burton. And my salary? $17,500 a month, sometimes more with bonuses. I'm the top revenue generator at the lab. My savings account has more zeros than most people see in a lifetime. So why would a successful woman pretend to be broke? Why would I dress like I shop exclusively at thrift stores, skip makeup entirely, and tell my boyfriend I worry about making rent? Because 3 years ago, a man named Bradley taught me what happens when you're honest about your success, and that lesson nearly destroyed me. Bradley was my fiancé. We've been together for 2 years. 2 years of dinners and movie nights and planning a future together. He was handsome, charming, said all the right things. I thought I'd found my person. Then one night he asked how much I made. Just casual curiosity, or so I thought. I told him the truth. I was proud of myself, you know? I'd worked so hard to get where I was. I expected him to be proud too. Instead, I watched his face change. It was subtle at first, a flicker behind his eyes, a slight tightening of his jaw. He said, "Wow, that's great," but his voice had gone flat, cold, and from that moment on, nothing was ever the same. Within a week, he started picking fights about nothing. I was intimidating. I was emasculating. I made him feel like less of a man. He said being with me felt like a competition he was always losing, a competition I didn't even know we were playing. Within a month, he was gone. 3 months after that, he married a waitress named Courtney, posted the wedding photos all over social media. Caption, "Finally found a woman who lets me be a man." I saw those photos at 2 a.m, alone in my apartment, eating ice cream straight from the container like a walking cliche, and something inside me just broke. For a year after Bradley left, I was a ghost. I went to work, came home, cried, slept, repeat. I stopped going out, stopped answering calls. Most of my friends eventually gave up trying. I don't blame them. I wasn't exactly great company. The only person who stuck around was Tiffany Russo. Tiffany and I had known each other since childhood, but we were never close friends. She was the party girl. I was the study all weekend girl. We had nothing in common. But when I was drowning, Tiffany was the one who showed up at my door with cheap wine and terrible advice. She dragged me out of bed, forced me to eat something besides cereal, remind me that the world existed outside my apartment walls. So when Tiffany got pregnant unexpectedly last year and had baby Rosie, I wanted to return the favor. And when Tiffany realized, pretty quickly, that motherhood wasn't exactly her calling, I stepped in more and more. First, it was a few days a week, then most days, then somehow essentially full-time. I pay Tiffany $800 a month now. She calls it reverse babysitting. She gets money and freedom to keep bartending and living her life. I get Rosie. And somewhere in that arrangement, an idea started forming. A crazy, possibly unhealthy, definitely manipulative idea. What if I used Rosie to test my next relationship? What if I presented myself as a struggling single mom, broke, overwhelmed, nothing to offer financially, and watched how a man treated me? If he could love me when I appeared to have nothing, then maybe, just maybe, he deserved to know the real me. If he couldn't? Well, better to find out before I got my heart shattered again. I perfected the look. Yoga pants with a mysterious stain I never bothered investigating. Sweaters that had seen better days. Specifically, the days of 2018. No makeup, hair in a permanent ponytail, and the bone-deep exhaustion that comes from actually caring for a 10-month-old baby. I called it exhausted chic. Very convincing. Tiffany's parenting style, by the way, was creative. When I first started watching Rosie full-time, I found that baby happily gumming a pickle. Another time, a piece of beef jerky. Once, I'm fairly certain it was pepperoni that had fallen on the floor. That child has survived things that would make a pediatrician faint, but she's healthy, happy, and apparently has an iron stomach. So maybe Tiffany was onto something. Probably not, but maybe. I met Graham 8 months ago at a coffee shop. I was holding Rosie, who was doing that adorable baby thing where they grab at absolutely everything within reach. Graham was in line behind me. When Rosie knocked my coffee right out of my hand and it splashed across the floor, I wanted to disappear. I was exhausted, embarrassed, and covered in lukewarm latte. But Graham, he laughed, not at me, with the situation. He helped me clean up, insisted on buying me a replacement, and asked if he could sit with us. He saw a tired single mom in cheap clothes with a fussy baby, and he stayed anyway. Over the next 8 months, Graham proved himself over and over. He never made me feel bad about my situation. He paid for dinners without making it awkward. He showed up with diapers and formula just because. He looked at Rosie like she was already his daughter. I told him I worked part-time doing paperwork at a dental office. Filing, scheduling, nothing exciting. I told him Rosie's dad wasn't in the picture, but he sent a little financial help sometimes. I told him we were managing, but it was tight. Graham believed every word, and he loved me anyway. 3 weeks before the dinner from hell, Graham got nervous and excited in a way I'd never seen. He said his family wanted to meet me. "This is a big step," he told me, squeezing my hand. "I want them to know how serious I am about you." I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt ice forming in my stomach because I'd heard about Patricia Whitmore, Graham's mother, the woman who had apparently sabotaged 3 of his previous relationships, the woman who believed her son deserved better than whoever he actually chose. I was walking into enemy territory, and I was walking in disguised as the exact type of woman Patricia would despise most. My phone buzzed. A text from Tiffany. "Hey, my parents are asking about Rosie again. They want to visit next month. This is getting complicated." I stared at the message. Tiffany's parents lived in Florida. They'd been making noise about their granddaughter for months, questioning whether Tiffany was fit to be a mother. They weren't entirely wrong. And now they were circling closer. The borrowed baby situation had an expiration date. I just didn't know exactly when that clock would run out. Everything was about to get very complicated. The test, the lies, the family that already hated me, and now this. I took a deep breath, picked up Rosie, and headed for the door. Whatever happened at this dinner, one thing was certain. Patricia Whitmore had no idea who she was dealing with, and by the end of the night, she would find out exactly how badly she'd underestimated me. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment, and your support means everything to me. Now, back to what happened at that dinner. The Whitmore house wasn't a house. It was a statement, a declaration of wealth that started at the iron gates and screamed louder with every inch of the circular driveway. By the time Graham parked his car and I got a good look at the 3-story colonial mansion with its perfectly manicured hedges and fountain, yes, an actual fountain, I understood exactly what kind of family I was dealing with. The foyer had a chandelier bigger than my first car. Actually, bigger than my first and second car combined. The floors were marble. The walls had actual paintings in actual frames, the kind that look like they belong in museums. I was afraid to breathe on anything. Graham squeezed my hand as we walked in. "They're going to love you," he said. He was lying. He had to know he was lying, but I appreciated the effort. Patricia Whitmore answered the door herself, which I later learned was unusual. She normally had help for that, but she wanted to see me first, to assess the threat before anyone else could form an opinion. "So this is the girlfriend," she said, her eyes doing that slow scan I mentioned. Sweater, flats, baby. Each item judged and found wanting. "Mom," Graham said, a warning in his voice, "this is Bethany, and this is Rosie. Charming," Patricia said, in a tone that suggested she found nothing charming about any of it. "Do come in. Try not to let the baby touch anything." The dining room was even more intimidating than the foyer, a table that could seat 16 set for 6, crystal glasses, china plates with gold trim, more forks than any human being could possibly need. I met the rest of the family in quick succession. Randall Whitmore, Graham's father, was a quiet man with observant eyes. He shook my hand, said, "Nice to meet you," in a way that seemed genuine, and then retreated into silence. I got the sense he saw everything but said nothing. Sloan Whitmore, Graham's 29-year-old sister, looked at me like I was an invasive species. She was overdressed, over-made up, and underimpressed. She called herself a lifestyle influencer and had 12,000 followers, most of whom, I suspected, were bots. When she saw Rosie, she wrinkled her nose. "Oh, you brought the baby." She said it the way you'd say, "You brought the cockroach," or "You brought the tax auditor." And then there was Nana June, Graham's grandmother on his father's side, 78 years old, sitting at the end of the table like a queen surveying her kingdom. She didn't say much at first, but her eyes were sharp. She watched everything with the intensity of someone keeping score. Dinner began with Patricia conducting an interrogation disguised as polite conversation. "So, Bethany, tell us about yourself. What do you do?" I had rehearsed this. I work part-time at a dental office. Paperwork mostly. Filing, scheduling, that kind of thing. Patricia's lip twitched. "Part-time." "Yes, it's hard to work full-time with a baby. I imagine." She took a sip of wine. "And the baby's father? Is he involved?" "Not really. He helps out sometimes, but he's not in the picture." Patricia exchanged a look with Randall. The look said everything. Single mother. Part-time job. Nobody. Their son could do so much better. Sloan, never one to miss an opportunity for cruelty, pulled out her phone right at the dinner table. Her thumbs flew across the screen, and within seconds she announced her findings to the entire room. "I can't find anything about you online, Bethany. Like nothing. No LinkedIn, no Instagram, no Facebook presence at all. It's like you don't exist." I kept my voice steady. "I'm not really a social media person." This was actually true. I kept my professional life completely private. No photos, no posts, no digital footprint that could connect Bethany Burton, dental prosthetist, to Bethany Burton, struggling single mom. It was a deliberate choice that was now paying off. Sloan looked at me with suspicion. "Everyone is on social media." "Not everyone. Weird people aren't." Graham stepped in. "Sloan, that's enough." But his voice lacked conviction. He was trying to keep the peace, not defend me. There's a difference, and I felt it like a splinter under my skin. Patricia leaned toward Randall and whispered something. She thought she was being subtle. She wasn't. I heard every word. "A nobody. He's throwing himself away on a nobody." I pretended not to hear. I cut my chicken into tiny pieces I had no intention of eating. I smiled at appropriate moments. I played my part perfectly. And then Rosie, blessed wonderful Rosie, chose that exact moment to have a diaper situation. I won't go into details, but let's just say it was loud. It was sudden, and it was immediately apparent to everyone at the table. Rosie also managed to spit up on what I would later learn was a $15,000 antique Persian rug. Patricia's left eye twitched in a way I didn't know eyes could twitch. That rug aged 10 years in 2 seconds. So did Patricia. Perhaps, Patricia said, her voice tight as a wire, you should handle that elsewhere, away from the dining room and the antiques, and the general vicinity. I excused myself and took Rosie to find a bathroom. The mansion had approximately 7,000 bathrooms, but of course I chose the one that Patricia had apparently claimed as her personal territory. I didn't know this until she followed me in. She waited until I was mid-diaper change, completely vulnerable, my hands full of baby and wipes. I know exactly what you're doing, Patricia said, closing the door behind her. I kept my voice calm. I'm changing a diaper. Don't play innocent with me. She stepped closer. I see women like you all the time. You find a successful man, you trap him with a baby that's probably not even his, and you ride that meal ticket for the rest of your life. My blood was boiling, but I kept my hands steady. Rosie needed me calm. Rosie is not Graham's baby, I said. She's mine, from a previous relationship. Even worse, you're bringing another man's child into my son's life. Baggage, that's what you are. Baggage with a diaper bag. I could have destroyed her right then. I could have told her exactly who I was, how much I made, how many doctors begged for my work. I could have watched her face crumble as her assumptions shattered, but I didn't, because the test wasn't over, and Patricia was proving exactly why I needed to run it in the first place. Graham loves me, I said simply, and I love him. Patricia laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. Graham is infatuated. He thinks he's rescuing you. It's a hero complex, nothing more. When the novelty wears off, he'll see you for what you are. And what is that? She smiled, cold and sharp. Temporary. She left me alone in that bathroom, hands shaking with rage, Rosie looking up at me with innocent eyes. When I returned to the dining room, I saw a text notification on my phone from my colleague at the lab. Emergency! The Morrison case! The $40,000 full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Preston says only you can fix it. Triple overtime if you come in tonight. My heart sank. The Morrison case was huge, the kind of project that built reputations, the kind of opportunity that didn't come often. I texted back, can't tonight. Family thing. The reply was immediate. Bethany, this is a career-defining case. Are you sure? I looked at Graham across the table. I looked at Patricia's smug smile. I looked at Rosie in my arms. I'm sure, I typed. Handle it without me. I was sacrificing my career for a test, and I still wasn't sure if it would be worth it. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of subtle insults and pointed silences. By the time we left, I was emotionally exhausted. Graham kept apologizing in the car. They just need time to warm up to you. Mom is protective. That's all. Protective, right. Patricia Whitmore wasn't protective. She was a guard dog with a designer handbag and a vendetta against anyone who threatened her vision of the perfect family. But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded and held Rosie and wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. I almost ended it that night. Sitting in Graham's car outside my apartment building, Rosie asleep in her car seat, I came within inches of telling him everything. The truth about my job, my income, my elaborate test. I was exhausted from pretending and tired of being humiliated by people who thought they were better than me. But then Graham took my hand and said something that stopped me. I'm sorry about my family. They were awful tonight, and you didn't deserve any of that. But I need you to know something. He turned to face me, his eyes serious. They don't define me. Their opinions don't decide my future. You do. You and Rosie. It was the right thing to say. But I'd heard right things from Bradley, too. Right up until he left. I just need time to process, I told him. Tonight was a lot. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and let me go. 2 days later, Graham's family threw a small gathering at the mansion. A casual get-together, he called it. I wasn't sure I wanted to go, but Graham was so hopeful that I couldn't say no. The casual get-together was not casual at all. It was another production, another opportunity for Patricia to remind me of my place. But something unexpected happened that night, something that changed everything. I was standing on the back patio, away from the crowd, watching the sunset and questioning all my life choices when Nana June appeared beside me. She moved quietly for a woman her age, and she had a glass of whiskey in her hand that suggested she wasn't here for small talk. "Beautiful evening," she said. "It is. You're stronger than you look, you know." She sipped her whiskey. "I've been watching you, the way you handle Patricia's nonsense, the way you keep your composure when most women would have crumbled. It's impressive." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. "You're not what they think you are, dear." Her eyes met mine, sharp and knowing. "I'm not sure what you are exactly, but it's not what they see." My heart hammered. Had she figured it out? "I'm exactly what I appear to be," I said carefully. "A single mom trying to do her best." She didn't sound convinced. "You know, 55 years ago, I was you." "Excuse me?" The poor girl who dared to love a Whitmore. She smiled, but there was old pain in it. Randall's mother hated me with a passion that could power a small city. I wasn't good enough for her son. I was beneath their family. Sound familiar? I nodded slowly. Patricia learned from her mother-in-law, unfortunately. She's been trying to destroy every woman Graham brings home for the past decade. 3 relationships. She held up 3 fingers, 3 good women, systematically dismantled by Patricia's campaigns. One was a nurse. One was a teacher. One was a lovely girl who worked for a non-profit. All of them not good enough. What happened to them? They ran. They couldn't handle the pressure, the constant judgment, the feeling of never being welcome. Patricia wore them down until they broke. Nana June finished her whiskey. "Don't let her win, unless you don't have the fight in you." "I have fight," I said quietly. "Good." She patted my arm. "The real ones don't run, dear. They dig in." She walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. Did she know my secret? Did she just suspect something? Or was she simply recognizing a strength she'd once possessed herself? I didn't have time to figure it out, because raised voices from inside the house caught my attention. I crept closer to an open window and heard Graham arguing with Sloane. They didn't know I was listening. "You need to open your eyes," Sloane was saying. "She's using you. It's so obvious. She has nothing, Graham. Nothing. And you're just going to hand her your whole life? I love her." Graham's voice was firm in a way I hadn't heard at the dinner. "I don't care what she has or doesn't have. She's kind. She's real. She's an incredible mother. Those things matter more than money." "You sound like a greeting card. And you sound like Mom, which should concern you, by the way. I'm trying to protect you. The only thing you're protecting is your inheritance, which, newsflash, isn't threatened by me getting married. It is if she tries to take half of everything." "There is no everything, Sloane. I work at a car dealership. I'm not some millionaire she's trying to trap. Do you even hear yourself?" I backed away from the window, heart pounding. He defended me, really defended me. Not the weak, "Mom is just protective" excuse from dinner. This was real pushback, real loyalty. Maybe he was different after all, but the universe apparently decided I hadn't been tested enough that night, because as I made my way back inside, I heard Patricia's delighted voice from the front door. "Meredith, what a wonderful surprise. I had no idea you were in town." I froze. Meredith, Graham's ex-girlfriend, the one Patricia had loved, the one who was perfect for her son. I positioned myself where I could see the entrance without being obvious about it. Meredith Callahan was everything I was pretending not to be. Tall, polished, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent in my fake struggling mom life. Her hair was salon perfect. Her smile was practiced and radiant. She walked in like she was on a runway in Milan. I walked in like I was on a budget in Target. Clearance section. Final markdown. "Graham," Patricia called out. "Look who stopped by. Meredith was just in the neighborhood." Just in the neighborhood, right. In a neighborhood where every house cost at least $2 million and nobody just stopped by without an invitation. Graham emerged from the back of the house, and I watched his face carefully. He looked uncomfortable, caught off guard, but he didn't immediately retreat from Meredith. Patricia orchestrated the reunion like a Broadway director. She positioned them next to each other. She made loud comments about how wonderful it was to see Meredith again, how she'd always been like family, how some connections just never fade. Sloane materialized with her phone, clearly planning to document the reunion for maximum damage. Meredith was gracious on the surface, but her eyes had a predatory gleam when they swept over me. She knew exactly who I was. She knew exactly why Patricia had invited her. "You must be Bethany," she said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "I've heard so much about you." "Good things, I hope," I said, matching her pleasant tone. "Oh, interesting things." Her smile sharpened. "Patricia tells me you have a baby. How brave of you. Dating with children is so challenging." "We manage. I'm sure you do." My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another text from work, this time with photos from the regional dental conference I was supposed to attend. "Everyone's asking where you are. Dr. Preston told the whole room you're the most talented prosthetist in the state. People are actually disappointed you're not here. You're famous and you don't even know it." I shoved the phone back in my pocket. I couldn't enjoy my professional triumph while hiding in a corner, watching my boyfriend's ex circle like a designer-clad shark. Graham eventually extracted himself from the Meredith situation and found me near the garden doors. He took my hand, and this time, his grip was firm. "I'm choosing you," he said. "Not Meredith. Not my mother's approval. You and Rosie, I need you to know that." I looked into his eyes, searching for the lie, for the hesitation, for the Bradley hiding underneath. I didn't find it, but I also didn't fully trust what I saw, because words are easy. Actions take time. "I believe you're trying," I said carefully, "but your family makes things complicated. They'll come around." I almost laughed. Patricia Whitmore would never come around. She'd die on the hill of her own snobbery before accepting me. But Nana June's words echoed in my mind. The real ones don't run. They dig in. And I wasn't ready to run, not yet. But I wasn't ready to reveal my secrets either. Let's see how much pressure this relationship could take before it cracked. Nana June found me again before we left. She pressed a piece of paper into my hand. "My phone number," she said, "in case you ever need an ally in this family." I must have looked surprised because she laughed. "Patricia has been insufferable since 1987, dear. Don't take it personally. She's insufferable to everyone equally, very democratic about it." For the first time that night, I genuinely smiled. Maybe I did have an ally, an unexpected one, in the last place I would have looked. As Graham drove me home, my mind was racing. The test wasn't over. If anything, it was just beginning. Patricia would escalate. Meredith would circle. Sloane would scheme. But Graham had defended me. Nana June had reached out. And I had more fight left in me than any of them realized. The question was, when the real truth came out, would any of it matter? A week passed after the party. A week of Graham being extra attentive, extra apologetic, extra everything. He brought me flowers. He brought Rosie a stuffed elephant she immediately tried to eat. He took us to the park, to dinner, to anywhere that wasn't his family's mansion. He was trying so hard, and I was running out of reasons to doubt him, but I needed one more test, one final push to see what he was really made of. If Graham could handle me at my absolute lowest, not just poor, but desperate, then I would know for certain. I would tell him everything, and we'd build something real together. If he couldn't, well, better to find out now than after I'd given him my whole heart. So I created a crisis. We were sitting on my couch, Rosie playing on a blanket between us, when I took a deep breath and started the performance of my life. "Graham, I need to tell you something." I made my voice shake. Not hard to do when you're about to test the man you love. "I'm in trouble." His face immediately shifted to concern. "What kind of trouble?" "Financial trouble. Rosie's dad. He stopped sending money completely. He blocked my number. I tried calling from a different phone and he hung up." I let my eyes fill with tears. Real tears, actually, because the stress of this whole situation was getting to me. I don't know how I'm going to make rent next month. I've been doing the math over and over, and it just doesn't work. Graham didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. "Move in with me." I blinked. "What?" "Move in with me. Both of you. Tomorrow, if you want." He grabbed my hands. "I have a 2-bedroom apartment. Rosie can have her own room. You won't have to worry about rent anymore. I'll take care of everything." "Graham, that's a huge step. We've only been together 8 months. 8 months is long enough to know." His eyes were intense, sincere. I love you, Bethany. I love Rosie. I don't care about timelines or what's appropriate. You need help, and I want to help. It's that simple. I stared at him, searching for the catch, the hesitation, the tiny flicker of doubt that would tell me he was just saying what he thought he should say. I didn't find it. Are you sure? I pressed. Your family would hate it. Your mother would have a stroke. Graham actually laughed. My mother has a stroke every time I don't do exactly what she wants. She'll survive. And honestly, this isn't about her. This is about us. You, me, and Rosie. That's my family now. My heart cracked open a little. This was exactly what I'd been hoping to hear. But hope is a dangerous thing when you've been burned before. Let me think about it, I said. It's a big decision. Take all the time you need, but know that the offer stands. Today, tomorrow, next month, whenever you're ready. He kissed my forehead and held me close, and I felt like the worst person in the world for testing him like this. But I wasn't done yet. 2 days later, Graham called me with news. My mom wants to have a family meeting tomorrow night. Okay, what time should I be there? Silence. Graham, she didn't invite you. His voice was tight with anger. I told her that was unacceptable, but she insisted it was family only. I'm sorry, Beth. I tried. It's fine. It wasn't fine, but it was expected. Go, see what she wants. You can tell me everything after. What Graham didn't know was that I already had an inside source. Nana June called me that afternoon. Patricia's planning an ambush, she said without preamble. She's been making calls all week, gathering ammunition. I think she's going to give Graham an ultimatum. What kind of ultimatum? You or the family. That's Patricia's favorite weapon. She's used it before. My stomach dropped. What should I do? Nothing yet. Let her show her cards. And don't worry, I'll be there. Recording everything. Recording? Dear, I've been documenting Patricia's nonsense for years. I have an entire folder on my phone. I call it the Patricia Files. Very thorough. Excellent audio quality. I laughed despite myself. Nana June, you're something else. I'm a survivor. Now go take care of that baby and let me handle reconnaissance. The family meeting happened the next evening. I sat in my apartment pretending to watch television, actually staring at my phone waiting for updates. At 9:47 p.m., Nana June sent me a video file. The message attached said simply, "You need to see this." I pressed play. The video was shaky but clear enough. Patricia was standing at the head of the dining table, Graham and Sloane seated, Randall in his usual silent position. Nana June must have propped her phone against something because the angle was steady. Patricia's voice filled my tiny apartment. This has gone far enough, Graham. I've held my tongue because I wanted to give you space to make your own decisions. But this woman is dragging you down. Graham's voice tense. Her name is Bethany. Fine, Bethany. She's a nobody, Graham. A part-time paper pusher with a baby that isn't even yours. Do you understand what people are saying? Do you understand how this looks? I don't care how it looks. Well, you should. Patricia's voice rose. You're a Whitmore. That name means something in this community, and you're throwing it away on a woman who can't even afford to dress properly. Sloane chimed in. Honestly, Graham, she's embarrassing. Did you see her at the dinner? She looked like she got her outfit from a donation bin. And the baby spit up on the Tabriz rug. Do you know how much that rug cost? More than your contribution to this family in the last 5 years, I'm guessing. Graham shot back. Don't be cruel, Patricia snapped. We're trying to help you see clearly. No, you're trying to control me. Like you always do. Like you did with Sarah and Michelle and Rebecca. My ears perked up. The 3 women Nana June had mentioned. The ones Patricia had destroyed. Those women weren't right for you, Patricia said smoothly, and neither is this one. But I'm willing to make you a deal. I don't want your deals. Listen anyway. Patricia leaned forward, her voice turning calculating. If you're so attached to the child, fine. Keep her. Get custody. We'll help you raise her properly, but lose the mother. She's dead weight, Graham. The baby can be saved. The woman cannot. My blood ran cold. They wanted to take Rosie from me. They actually thought they could separate us and raise her as their own. The video showed Graham standing up so abruptly, his chair scraped against the floor. Stop, just stop. His voice shook with anger. Do you hear yourselves? You're talking about a human being, a woman I love, a mother who would do anything for her daughter, and you want to, what? Steal her child. Raise Rosie in this house, with this family, surrounded by people who see her as a project instead of a person? We're trying to help. You're trying to control. That's all you've ever done, and I'm done letting you. Patricia's face on the video was rigid with fury. If you choose her, Graham, you're choosing to walk away from this family. Then I guess I'm walking. Silence. Heavy, terrible silence. And then, for the first time in the entire recording, Randall spoke. The boys made his choice. His voice was calm, measured, final. It's a good one. Respect it, Patricia. Patricia turned to her husband, stunned. Randall, I said respect it. This conversation is over. The video ended there. I sat in my apartment, tears streaming down my face, phone clutched in my hands. Graham had passed the test. He had defended me when I wasn't there to hear it. He had chosen me over his family's approval, over his inheritance, over everything. And Randall, quiet, observant Randall, had stood up for him, for us. I called Nana June back immediately. I saw it, I said, my voice breaking. I saw everything. He's a good man, Bethany. Whatever you're hiding, I think he can handle it. I froze. What do you mean, hiding? Dear, I'm 78 years old. I've seen more lies than a courtroom judge. You're not what you claim to be. I don't know the details, and frankly, I don't need them. But whatever your secret is, Graham deserves to know, before it comes out some other way. She was right. She was absolutely right. The test was over. Graham had passed every single challenge I'd thrown at him. He loved me when I appeared to have nothing. He defended me to his family. He offered me his home, his life, his future. Now it was my turn to be brave. But first, I had another crisis to manage. Tiffany called me at 11 p.m., hysterical. Beth, my parents are flying in next week. They're talking to lawyers. They think I'm an unfit mother and they want custody of Rosie. Slow down. Tell me exactly what happened. My mom found out I've been letting you take care of Rosie most of the time. She thinks I abandoned her. She's threatening to sue for custody. She says she'll prove I'm negligent. I rubbed my temples. The borrowed baby situation was exploding at the worst possible time. What do you want to do, Tiffany? A long pause. Then quietly, I don't know if I can fight them, Beth. I don't know if I should. What do you mean? Maybe they're right. Her voice cracked. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Rosie is happier with you than she ever was with me. She cries when I hold her now because she's not used to me anymore. What kind of mother am I if my own baby doesn't recognize me? My heart ached for her. For all her flaws, Tiffany was trying. She was just lost. We don't have to decide anything tonight, I said. Let's meet tomorrow and talk through the options. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Thanks, Beth. You're literally the only person who doesn't judge me. After I hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, Rosie sleeping peacefully in the next room. In my family, a meeting meant someone ate the last piece of pie, and we needed to find the culprit. Maybe assign blame. Maybe demand they buy a replacement pie. Very serious stuff. In the Whitmore family, it apparently meant deciding whether I deserved to exist in their orbit. The stakes were slightly different. But tomorrow, the stakes would shift again. Because tomorrow, I was going to tell Graham the truth. All of it. And I had no idea if our relationship would survive. If this story has your heart racing right now, please take just 1 second to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow. And I'm so incredibly grateful for each one of you. Now, let me tell you what happened next. Graham asked me to meet him at the coffee shop where we first met, the same little cafe where Rosie had knocked the cup out of my hand and Graham had laughed instead of getting annoyed, the place where everything started. I knew something was happening. Graham's voice on the phone had been nervous, excited, the way it gets when he's planning something. I had my own plans for this conversation, but I wanted to let him go first. I arrived early, Rosie on my hip, and found a quiet table in the corner. The barista recognized me and waved. I'd become a regular over the past 8 months, always in my struggling mom costume, always counting out coins carefully even though my bank account had more than enough. Graham walked in looking like he hadn't slept, but it was a good kind of exhausted, the kind that comes from nervous anticipation rather than worry. He sat across from me, took a deep breath, and reached into his jacket pocket. I was going to do this at dinner with my family, he said, before everything went sideways. I had it all planned out. The ring, the speech, the moment. But you know what? I don't need any of that. I don't need my family's approval or a fancy restaurant or the perfect setting. He pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. Graham dash dash. Let me finish. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, a modest diamond that caught the light. Not expensive, not flashy, just beautiful. Bethany, I don't care if we have nothing. I don't care what my mother thinks or what society expects or any of that garbage. When I'm with you, I feel like myself, the best version of myself. You make me want to be braver, kinder, more honest. You and Rosie, you're my family now, the family I chose. He got down on one knee right there in the coffee shop, and a few other customers turned to watch. Will you marry me? I burst into tears, but not the happy kind. Graham's face shifted from hopeful to confused to worried in the span of 2 seconds. Beth, what's wrong? Did I do something? No, I shook my head, tears streaming. You did everything right, that's the problem. You're perfect and I've been lying to you for 8 months and I don't deserve any of this. What are you talking about? Rosie, sensing the tension, started to fuss. I bounced her automatically while trying to form words that would destroy everything I'd built. I'm not who you think I am, Graham. What do you mean? And then I told him everything. I'm not a part-time paper pusher. I'm a senior dental prosthetist at Preston and Moore Dental Lab. I've been there for 8 years. I make the crowns and veneers and dentures that dentists use. When doctors need precision work, they request me by name. I'm also in my final semester of dental school. In 4 months, I'll be Dr. Bethany Burton. Graham stared at me, the ring still in his hand, his knee still on the floor. I kept going. I had to get it all out. I make $17,500 a month, sometimes more with bonuses. I'm not struggling, Graham. I've never been struggling. I have more money in savings than most people make in 3 years. I don't understand. He slowly stood up, the ring box closing in his palm. Why would you lie about that? Because 3 years ago, I was engaged to a man named Bradley. We were together for 2 years. When he found out I made more money than him, he couldn't handle it. He said I was intimidating and emasculating. He left me for a waitress and married her 3 months later. Graham's expression shifted from confusion to something softer, understanding maybe, or the beginning of it. I was devastated, I continued. It broke something in me. It made me think my success was a character flaw, that I needed to hide who I was to be loved. So when I met you, I created a test. I wanted to see how you would treat a woman you thought had nothing. If you could love me when I appeared to be broke and struggling, then you deserve to know the real me. A test. His voice was flat. Our entire relationship has been a test. Yes. Silence stretched between us. The coffee shop noise faded to a distant hum. Even Rosie went quiet, as if she understood the gravity of the moment. There's more, isn't there? Graham said quietly. I nodded, my throat tight. Rosie. What about her? She's not my daughter. Graham's face went pale. What? She's my friend Tiffany's baby. Tiffany got pregnant unexpectedly, had Rosie, and immediately realized she wasn't ready to be a mother. I've been helping take care of her, practically raising her, for the past 8 months. I pay Tiffany $800 a month, but biologically, Rosie isn't mine. Graham took a step back, then another. He ran his hands through his hair, the universal gesture of a man trying to process too much information at once. So the struggling single mom wasn't struggling. No. And the baby I thought was yours isn't. No. And you've been testing me for 8 months. Our first date, our first kiss, every moment we've had together. It was all part of some experiment to see if I was good enough. When he put it that way, it sounded terrible because it was terrible. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. I was scared, Graham. I was so scared of being hurt again that I built walls. The test was my wall. It was wrong. I know that now. But I need you to understand why I did it. I do understand. He met my eyes and I couldn't read what I saw there. I understand that you didn't trust me. From day one, you assumed I would be like him, like Bradley. You never gave me the chance to prove myself honestly. You're right. I defended you to my family. I chose you over their approval. I offered you my home. And the whole time you were, what? Taking notes? Grading my performance? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I didn't have a good answer. Because he was right. I had been testing him, constantly, waiting for him to fail, and he never did. You passed, I said finally. Every test, every challenge, every obstacle I threw at you. You passed all of them. You loved me when you thought I had nothing. You defended me when I wasn't there. You were ready to raise a child that had no biological connection to either of us. I was ready to raise your child because I loved you. And that's exactly why you passed. Because it wasn't about biology or money or status. It was about love, real love, the kind I stopped believing existed. Graham was quiet for a long moment. The ring box was still clenched in his hand. I wish you had trusted me, he said finally. That hurts more than the lying. The idea that you spent 8 months expecting me to fail. I know, but I held my breath. I get it. He exhaled heavily. I get why you did it. After what Bradley did, after having your heart broken like that, I understand why you needed proof. Why words weren't enough. You do? I hate it, but I understand it. He looked at the ring box, then back at me. And you know what? I'm glad you tested me. You are, because now you know for sure. You know I didn't fall in love with your money or your career or your potential. I fell in love with you, the woman who showed up at my door in yoga pants with a baby on her hip, the woman who laughed at my terrible jokes and didn't care about fancy restaurants. That's who I fell in love with. And finding out you're also successful? That's just a bonus. He stepped closer, and my heart started beating again. My answer is the same, Bethany. He opened the ring box again. The question is yours? I looked at the ring, at Graham, at Rosie in my arms. Yes, I whispered. Yes, it's still yes. He slid the ring onto my finger and I cried again. Happy tears this time, finally. Graham kissed me and Rosie grabbed his nose, and somewhere in the coffee shop, someone started clapping. And then the door opened. I heard her before I saw her. The sharp click of expensive heels, the theatrical gasp of outrage. Patricia Whitmore had just walked into the coffee shop. Graham, there you are. I've been calling and calling. We need to talk about... She stopped mid-sentence, finally registering the scene. Her son on one knee, a ring on my finger. Tears and smiles and a moment that clearly didn't include her. What is happening here? Graham stood, keeping my hand in his. I just proposed. She said yes. Patricia's face cycled through horror, disbelief, and fury. You proposed? To her? After everything I said? After the family meeting? Because of the family meeting, actually. You showed me exactly who you are, Mom. And I chose her anyway. Patricia turned her glare on me. You manipulative little... Actually, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I should probably tell you the truth, too. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What truth? The truth that I'm not a struggling single mom. I never was. Patricia froze. I'm a senior dental prosthetist. I make more money in a month than your son makes in 3. I'm in my final semester of dental school. In 4 months, I'll be a doctor. I stood up straighter, Rosie secure in my arms. And that nobody you've been trying to destroy for 8 months. She let you show her exactly who you really are. Patricia's mouth opened, closed, opened again. She looked like she'd just swallowed a lemon, and then the lemon grew spines, and then the spiny lemon discovered it had been wrong about everything. You lied? She finally managed. I protected myself. There's a difference, although I wouldn't expect you to understand that. For the first time in her life, Patricia Whitmore had absolutely nothing to say. She stood there, designer handbag clutched like a shield, completely and utterly speechless. Graham squeezed my hand. We're done here, Mom. If you want to be part of our lives, you'll treat Bethany with respect. If you can't do that, then don't bother coming to the wedding. He guided me past Patricia, out the door into the sunlight. Behind us, I heard the door close on Patricia's stunned silence. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt completely free. The next few days were chaos, but the good kind. News travels fast in families like the Whitmores, and by the time Patricia recovered from her coffee shop humiliation, the story had already spread, but not the version she would have wanted. See, Patricia made a critical error. She tried to spin the narrative her way. She called her society friends, her real estate colleagues, her entire network of wealthy housewives and country club members. She told them I was a liar, a deceiver, a con artist who had manipulated her poor, innocent son. But Nana June was faster. While Patricia was still formulating her attack strategy, Nana June had already been on the phone for hours. She called everyone who mattered, and in a community this tight-knit, word of mouth was more powerful than any social media campaign. Nana June's version of events was simple and devastating. My future granddaughter-in-law is a successful medical professional who pretended to be poor to make sure Graham loved her for herself. It's actually quite romantic when you think about it. She gave up months of her career, turned down major professional opportunities, all to test whether our family was worthy of her. And Patricia treated her like garbage. For 8 months, can you imagine? The embarrassment. By the time Patricia's calls went out, her friends already knew the real story. One of them, a woman named Dorothy, who I'd later learn was Patricia's longest frenemy, responded with perfect, devastating politeness. "Patricia, dear, that's actually rather romantic, and you tried to destroy it. How embarrassing for you," another said. "So you bullied a successful doctor because you assumed she was poor. That's not a good look, Patricia. That's really not a good look at all." Patricia's reputation took a direct hit in her own social circle. The very people she'd been trying to impress, the community she'd worked so hard to dominate, they all saw her clearly now. Not as a protective mother, but as a snob who had judged a woman based entirely on appearances. And the best part? There was nothing she could do about it. Sloane predictably tried to mount her own attack. She posted a vague but pointed Instagram story about people who lie their way into families and gold diggers with secret agendas. It got 12 likes. 8 of them were bots. 3 were people who clearly hadn't read it carefully. 1 was her own mother. She deleted it within 6 hours. Nobody cared about Sloane's opinions. Nobody had ever cared about Sloane's opinions, and watching her realize that in real time was its own kind of justice. Randall found me 2 days after the proposal. I was at Graham's apartment helping him reorganize to make room for me and Rosie when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Graham's father standing there, looking uncomfortable, in the way men of his generation often do when they're about to express emotions. "May I come in?" Of course. He stepped inside, looked around at the boxes and the baby gear and the general chaos of a life in transition. Then he looked at me. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" "For not speaking up sooner, at that dinner and all the times after. I watched Patricia treat you terribly, and I said nothing. That was cowardice." I didn't disagree, but I also didn't pile on. "You spoke up when it mattered, at the family meeting. I should have spoken up long before that." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Patricia has always been difficult. I learned early in our marriage that fighting her directly was exhausting, so I retreated. I let her run the family while I stayed silent. I told myself it was keeping the peace, but really I was just avoiding conflict." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know that the Whitmore family isn't just Patricia. Graham is a good man, better than I ever was at his age. And June, well, you've met June. She's the best of all of us." He smiled slightly. "Welcome to the family, Bethany. The real one, not the one Patricia built." It was the most words he'd spoken to me ever, and it meant everything. "Thank you, Randall." He nodded, clearly having reached his emotional capacity for the decade, and let himself out. The Rosie situation resolved itself more gracefully than I'd expected. Tiffany's parents flew in from Florida, fully prepared for a legal battle. But when they arrived, Tiffany sat them down and had the most mature conversation I'd ever seen her have. "I love Rosie," she told them, "but loving her isn't the same as being able to raise her. Not right now, maybe not ever. I'm 29 years old, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. How can I teach her to be a person when I'm still figuring that out myself?" Her parents listened. They didn't judge, didn't lecture, didn't say, "I told you so." They just listened. In the end, they worked out an arrangement. Rosie would go to Florida with her grandparents, who had the stability and resources to give her a proper home. Tiffany would visit regularly, slowly rebuilding her relationship with her daughter from a position of honesty rather than obligation. And me? I would always be Aunt Beth. Birthdays, holidays, video calls every week. Rosie wouldn't forget me, and I wouldn't forget her. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I first took Rosie in, but it was the right one. for everyone. The night before Tiffany and her parents left with Rosie, I held that baby girl one last time. She grabbed my face with her chubby hands the way she always did, and I memorized everything about her. The weight of her in my arms, the smell of her hair, the way she laughed when I made silly faces. "You're going to have an amazing life," I whispered to her, "and I'll always be here, always." She gurgled at me, which I chose to interpret as agreement. Graham found me sitting in the empty nursery after they left. The crib was still there, but it felt bigger somehow, emptier. "You okay?" he asked. "I will be." I leaned into him. "I'm gonna miss her." "I know, me too." He kissed the top of my head. "But hey, someday when we're ready, we'll fill this room again with our own kids." Our own kids. The thing I'd wanted most for so long. The dream I'd almost given up on. "Yeah," I said, "we will." We sat there in comfortable silence, his arm around me, the evening light fading through the window. Graham cleared his throat. "So, Dr. Burton, when do I actually get to see you at work?" I laughed. "I graduate in 4 months, and then I'm thinking about opening my own practice. Small, just me. At least at first. Quality over quantity." "You'll be amazing at it." "You don't know that." "I do." He turned to face me, completely serious. "I believe in you. Not because of your degrees or your salary or any of that. Because of who you are. You're the most capable person I've ever met. Whatever you decide to do, you'll succeed at it." 3 words were hidden in there. Simple ones, but they meant everything. I believe in you. After Bradley, I'd stopped believing anyone could say that and mean it. After the test, after the reveal, after everything, Graham still meant it. "We should probably tell my side of the family about the engagement," I said. "They're considerably less dramatic than yours, but my Aunt Linda will definitely cry. Fair warning. I can handle crying. It's the silent judgment I struggle with." "Oh, there'll be none of that. My family is loud about everything. Opinions, emotions, football games, very loud." Sounds perfect. And it was. It really was. There's a saying I've heard my whole life. The people who love you when you have nothing are the only ones who deserve you when you have everything. I used to think that was just a nice quote for greeting cards and inspirational posters. Something pretty but impractical. Now I know it's the truest thing I've ever heard. I spent 8 months pretending to have nothing, waiting for Graham to prove he was like every other man who'd let me down. Instead, he proved he was exactly what I needed. Patient, loyal, brave enough to choose love over legacy. And Patricia? She's still Patricia. Still obsessed with appearances, still judging everyone who doesn't meet her impossible standards. But she doesn't have power over us anymore. Her opinion is just noise. Background static in a life full of things that actually matter. Some people never learn. That's not my problem anymore. I have a man who loves me, a career I'm proud of, a future full of possibilities. And I have one piece of advice for anyone who's ever been made to feel like their success is something to hide. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The right people will celebrate you at full size. The wrong people were never worth your time anyway. Thank you so much for watching. More of my most gripping stories are already on your screen. Click one now and don't miss the best part. You will love it. See you in the next story.